Dear John, I have this sort of thing I want to say to humanity and to yourself and to you and to myself. And you're going to be the vessel to hold it, because I super love you and I super trust you. Like, if I'm looking at this camera and it's actually my buddy John listening to this, I have the faith that I will be rule omega'd and that you will listen with an ear for pulling out my best intentions and for letting me speak at the edge of my own understanding and possibly make some mistakes and stumble along as I search, literally blindly, for the way to love alongside with you. So how's it go? You're gonna give me I'm gonna need a moment to see if I can find what I want to say. I might not be able to. These moments of inspiration hit from a big flood of embodied intensity. There's a story around that intensity. I realize I'm having an imaginary conversation. I think it was with you, John, that kind of got me going. And my mind popped out of the imaginary conversation, realizing I wasn't talking to anyone, but I was dreaming that I was. I popped out and realized I was only talking to myself. And that even when realizing I'm only talking to myself, I'm still only talking to myself. Then I popped out and realized that there's this unbelievably beautiful gift of the internet and of democratized media and of my ability to turn on the camera, still be alone in a room with myself, still be talking to myself about previously, and at least being aware that I'm talking to myself. Previously, I was imagining I was talking to you, John. One of the cool things about going deep into these realizations, adding some introspection, meditation, psychedelics, or whatever your process of finding out what is real to you is, one of the cool things is you realize you're always only ever talking to yourself. Even when there's somebody in the room with you, what is going out through you and what is getting filtered back in to them, it has a appropriate modicum of fidelity to keep our battle against entropy going. And at different kinds of systems that are either ordered or complicated or complex or chaotic, that communicative fidelity gives us either a lot of power and creates a lot of fragility, and allows for some collaboration. I don't mean to say that language gets us nowhere, but in a really fundamental way, Plato's cave is your skull. And it's a absolutely terrifying and demolishing realization, because we all imagine each other into existence all the time. And I am alone in a room, and you are alone in a room with your computer screen. Whether there's 8 of you who watch this, or 100 or a trillion. That's right, I do know 1 trillion people should not watch this. This isn't ready for 1 trillion people. This is still me working things out. Nothing should be watched by 1 trillion people. Let's try 1 billion. No. Let's try 1 million. Let's keep dropping these orders of magnitude down. I think maximum ambition for this video would be 100,000 people. That would be unbelievable. That would be beautiful. That would kill me, John, if 100,000 people saw this video, particularly if 100,000, I guess people who self-identify as liberals see this. No, see, I'm saying words that split us up right down the fucking middle. It's so scary to say anything at all, because I don't want to be misheard, but I'm going to rule. Okay, this is the gift. I had this conversation with Nominus, a really wonderful being here, and I got a lot of things out of that conversation. Really, oh my God, it was so hopeful. Nominus, thank you. to just be able to do things at the level I do them and feel heard. Like what's happening right now is happening at a weird spiritual level. This is what's happening. And John, if you can't hear me here, then that's okay. One of the things I learned of how much I love you is when I felt totally, there's a part of me that felt unfairly misheard and unfairly situated in a media context that allowed you to intentionally, or that put too much noise in between the signals so that what I was trying to say wouldn't get heard. And all this is preamble for the actual little story that I'm going for. I got from Nominus to John and back again. It's okay. When you're in the intersubjective milieu, you lose your train of thought. And when you smoke like 7 spliffs yesterday and stare at a computer all day and just watch random YouTube videos. Oh, the body was so relaxed. Oh, it was such a recovery day from getting so high and masturbating. And it felt so good. And I loved it. And now I'm back at it. Now I'm like, okay, hold on to the intensity, and a couple weeks I'll go get super high and jerk off again if that's what my body and soul seem to need. But body and soul, we're going to put a limit on that because we care about the world, and we recognize that when we overdo that, it spills into our soul in a very uncomfortable way. But we're learning, Ben, how to hold this intensity, or how to hold this intensity and how to balance the needs for sometimes manifesting some version of perfect self-love, even in a potentially not perfectly wholesome way, for the sake of negotiating with the internal characters. Okay, so now that I'm done with that little digression on a digression, because I got distracted, and then I explained one of the reasons why I got distracted was being stoned all day yesterday, and then why I get stoned all yesterday because I masturbated. Why did I masturbate? Because I have no idea. My body has this compulsive, I don't know what the word is, desire for the manifestation of this action. And my soul, whatever, however we delineate the want. Anyway, and that's another really important topic that I myself have to grapple with and find my way to the bottom of. Having a kind of like weird and embarrassing fetish puts one in a weird spot because me, doesn't talk about it for 30 years. Can't figure out how to open up and bravely use my words to communicate that which is completely unflinchingly. And my fetish and my masturbation habits are part of what is, and not communicating that will get us nowhere. I'm almost done with this digression, I swear. Okay, we got this. So I'm talking about, right, okay, I'm on like the third layer of this digression. We're almost going to get to the end of it so we can get back. My shame and self-shame and blame and interior psychology is such that it makes it difficult for me to know what my fears of malevolence in the world. I wish I had more. I have no levity today, and I apologize, and I'm aware. And I want some fun in it. I want some energy. I want some chill. I want some Pete Seeger, who saw a lot of exploitation and suffering in the world, apparently kept his unbelievable cool and mellow chill all the time. And it's such a gift. And people catch your mellow chill and your fun good times much more than your actual words, actually. And they're and we are attracted to each other, who is relaxed and vibing and chilling. And I'm looking for that space, and I find it. I can find it. It's here. I'm finding coming home to the witness actually has a lot to do with coming home to back to as a kid, the idea of just being cool. Like how does a cool person interface with the world? And what is that general energy? And at a spirit, it's kind of spiritual cool. It's just like, it's just a real mellow, unjudgmental consistency with your contemporary unfolding. It's getting overplayed. Okay. I almost want to, in a meta way, trace back the 7 steps of digression, but I'm going to stop there and get into the conversation with you, John, directly, which really this all has been the whole time, because that sucked, what happened over social media, and I really am totally apologetic, and I really do also want to beseech you for as much empathy, sympathy, and attempts at understanding why I did what I did, despite the idiocy of it. And I think you have, and you do, and I appreciate that, John. I was concerned that you, for whatever reason, didn't have the capacity or the space in your heart for empathy towards my idiocy, and it made me so sad and angry. To lose your goodwill, John, has never happened. I've never got that feeling. I've got a little bit of a feeling of abandonment when you went off to California, but that's not, you did no such thing. These are feelings. It's just, John's a close friend, disappears for a couple years, you shoot him a text once every couple months, he doesn't get back to you. What are you going to do? I didn't think I'd ever see you again after college, actually. It's a gift that you're part of my life at all, in my 30s. And it's great to be a part of your life in your 30s as we advance into recognition of the complexity and simplicity, I guess, of what's happening. Okay, so on social media, the story goes like this in my telling of it, John. We're close to the election. I am scrolling through Instagram when I should be mowing lawns. Going through the stories, and I see a bunch of memes from my friends who, like, so wording is so hard, and I really want to practice rule omega, and I want to presume that I'll be taken in good faith, but words are so hot and emotive and totally coupled to the energetics, which we have totally decoupled from critical thinking in general. We're not, and it's not, our biases go on forever. We're so bad at it. It's so, to think propositionally clearly from an evidentiary perspective is, you do not appreciate how hard it is if you have, this is me all day. I'm by myself and I'm preaching to myself. And I just want my mind to shut up. I want to be in my moment. And, I mean, I forgive you, mind. It's okay. You do what you do. Everything is causes and conditions. So, how do I want to get into action? So, I can't tell the story without recognizing that I'm framing it in a certain way that is not necessarily consistent with reality, and that my framing can be quibbled with at every level of accuracy and not just quibbled with, maybe quibbled with. The words I use to try to describe the words I use. Like, this whole system is fucked. So I want to use the word liberal, and again, I can't help it. I feel scared that I'll be shut off if I try to package someone this way. I don't package anyone anyway. I want to presume that you are smart enough, John, to transcend, and I know you are, everyone, to these group identification markers don't have explanatory power, and they do more harm than good. And so I'm going to use them and, I don't know, raise my hand when I do this, because I can't tell a story, because I know I'm just telling a story. And when you get to that point of knowing you tell a story, you're just telling stories, then you're at the point where your learning begins. I don't think you're at that point, John. I don't think you're at that point, my liberal friends. It's not that the truth isn't, it's not that the process of communication and collaboration and just good faith communitas dialogue can't bring us huge amounts of flow with reality so that we can minimize the suffering and work together to collaborate to stave off the entropy, which is coming for all of us anyway, right? I don't know why I did a suicide. No, it's not suicide. We're all going to die. That's it. We're all dead in the end. And us you people, John, you are, I feel like, this is really hard. That's what I come back to. And it makes me feel really soft and really sensitive and really scared and really needing love and really wanting to give love and looking to the people who I can give and receive love from, my dear close friends. And I fuck that up because I take a lot of, because I made poor calculation and karmically see the connections between subconsciously what I was doing and what you subconsciously picked up on. And so I recognized that what I did was something with more wisdom I could have seen and prevented, but I forgive myself for not having the wisdom to see and prevented it, and I expect you, John, to have the wisdom to see that I didn't have the wisdom to forget, and I know you do. And I did a mighty job of attempting to help guide you along to the space where you felt the compassion for me, to forgive me, because some part of me felt entitled, I guess, to your forgiveness, although it really didn't. I thought maybe, okay, I'm going to get back to the story. This is a long thing. I apologize for all the digressions, but this is how it has to be for me to work out what's happening with me. And I'm doing this for the sake of working out what's happening with me because I'm scared to death of the story wars that are happening. And they, to me, don't even... I just want to like say the things that feel true. Like, I want to say, like, the RNC and the DNC are super duper entrenched kleptocratic self-dealers who are embedded in an incentive structure of rent-seeking that siphons away the wealth from everyone of all collaborative and productive spheres of life. And see, I even try to say like a quick, simple little thing, and then I can't figure out a way to say it, and then I go through the loop, and then I have to stop and feel and come back home, and I find compassion and love. Okay, this is the big lesson, and then I'm going to get back to the story, and I'm going to keep trying to tell this fucking story. I don't care how long it takes. It's love and uncertainty at the center of everything. And when you feel that, it hurts your body. It's intense. And you're not used to this intensity, and I'm not used to this intensity. And we have to learn to sit with this intensity if we're going to collaborate in good faith and find both ands and find the truth in what each other is saying. I burped a little. Yeah. It's this space of being where we're going to get to. Okay. So my mind starts anywhere, looks at what it's doing as an abstraction, looks at that abstraction, recognizing that each layer of abstraction is probably a literal order of magnitude or a new dimension by which nuance and possibility and constraints and complexity unfold. And I realize it's too hard. It's outside of my mind to be able to hold the perspectives that need to be held in order to communicate anything mildly true about reality. And I'm like, wow, this is horrible and a problem and way beyond me. And I see it's way beyond me, and I see it's way beyond all of us. And the majority of our insane culture, which can't make sense of the world and can't make sense of why it can't make sense of the world. It can only come up with shitty explanations that other people are bad or stupid. I get back to this space full of intense energy where I'm at right now, and then there's nothing to be to. It's the thought, the meta-thought, the meta-meta-thought, everything explodes, and you have to come back home. And this happens to me hundreds of times a day. And it happens to me when I try to make a really simple, really quick YouTube video or anything. And I'm going to keep on working through this and processing this. And thank God for, I think now, my whatever it is, compulsive masturbation fetish, because I love it so much. It's so juicy and good and enjoyable and feels like a perfect expression of self-love when I'm in it, that it's something so magical to look forward to that it gives me the bravery to try this, to be here. And so I have to actually honor that part of myself as a gift and recognize that it's given me a shadow I have to deal with. It helps me, I think, see the shadow, and helps me see that it's hard for me to disentangle my own shadow from, my narratives about how reality works. I have a very conspiratorial intuition about things. Now, if you immediately... I'm going to let you rule omegamy reality. I know the word conspiracy has a giant emotional net around it, like other things. I can't hold a fucking train of thought. It's too hard, man. This is too hard to do. And that's okay. Totally okay. I could just not riff in front of a camera and write my thoughts out first, or at least have some bullet points to keep myself on track. So if I'm gonna get angry at myself, it's more than I'm embarrassed that I'm imagining somebody watching this. Oh, right, John, you're watching this, and you're like, Ben, can you remember what you were doing for 40 seconds? No, I can't, because I want to talk about the world with you, John. I want to try to make sense of what's happening with you, John. I want to make sense of what happened with us, John. And it's really, really hard to enter this space, even with my dear buddy, with so much love and good faith and trust in between us. I know your heart to be gold, and I know you know my heart to be gold. That's a great place to be with someone. And okay, so keep going here. All the trains of thoughts disappearing. We're gonna get this story told. So 30 minutes in, more 23 minutes in. Okay, yeah, here we go. So I'm on Instagram when I should be mowing lawns, and I'm scrolling, and I see, John, you write this. Well, you didn't write it. You found a meme that you felt, I suppose, represented your sentiments well enough. It said something like, vote like the most vulnerable person you know about matters, or vote like the most vulnerable person you know's life is at stake, or vote like the most vulnerable person you know. Something. It said something in that extent. Vote in favor of the vulnerable. And boy, did that really set off something in me. That, again, I don't know if it came from the exterior world or my own interior shadows. All of these things are mysteries to me. And they're also mysteries to you. And you better, please, John and everyone, I know you're doing this, try to find a way to explore your subconscious and your motivating structures internally. They emerge endlessly to foil our best intentions. and we are gonna keep a close eye. So you say your meme, and I respond to your meme in the little Instagram text box. Ugh, why am I trying to recapitulate the story? This doesn't even help. This doesn't even help. If I could tell the story half decent, and then I could tell the story as to why I think the incentives in reality made the story possible, and if I could tell what it is that I think I was mistaken in and forgive myself for, and if I could tell why I can understand how, John, you misinterpreted. No, you didn't there were multiple layers in which this could be interpreted, and you picked one and you went with that, and I respect that. And my qualification of the other layers I wanted to do this with you at, have this conversation at, felt unheard to me. So if I could communicate, it's like, there's like 9 pieces here to tell a somewhat true story between 2 dear friends who trust each other. To even lay out the pieces and then go and break them all down would be difficult and would require some work beforehand. And it matters to me, actually, John, that we can come to some consensus on what happened, and we can sense the inner pain within us that contributed to both of our reactions, that don't blame the other, and that we can continue onward, even in the hot intensity of our moment, to work with the other in love and uncertainty. What am I saying? John, I don't know what I'm saying, man. I mean, I know what I'm saying, but I know. It's hard to say. And that's what I'm going to let myself keep coming back to. I think that was some other important realization. Like, if I'm going to... Okay, this is really interesting. So we're going to digress a little, John. I apologize for failing to tell the story. I apologize for getting caught up 100 times. I apologize for coming back to trying to tell the story over again, eventually failing, and then poorly framing the way I wish I would have been able to tell the story so that it could have been worth telling. But I couldn't even quite articulate what I would have wanted to have said to have appropriately told the story, because even that is difficult. So we've got the story, right? We've got the meta layer of the story. We look at the meta layer. We move into the meta. Again, just using, I don't know how to describe this exactly. It gets too complicated. And we have to let the thoughts go and come back to what is actually real. Thank God there's something real. There is something real. There's this moment. Not the one a second ago. That one's fucking gone. It's memory. Not the coming one. The one that you anticipate. That's the expectation. Not this whole realm of conception that we're in. None of this is reality. That's one of the big points. And yet, in the unreality, there's still a simulacrum and a hierarchy of abstractions that we really need to see and talk about if we're going to not contribute to suffering and not contribute to particularly the malevolent, the bad guy. There are people who don't care. I know there's sociopaths at every level. There's baby rapers. There's beyond belief malevolence and ignorance in the world and in our own hearts. Because you, John, would have been a mighty fine prison guard at a Nazi. Oh, that hurts you to say? Yeah, well, I would have been a mighty fine guard too, I think. Actually. And I think all of our friends would have been, particularly those like you. Now I'm just going to get angry. Let me riff, John. I'm just going to riff. I'm letting some anger out. Don't believe me, okay? Let me just play with what I need to. Now what's interesting is by the time